So thank you all for joining us today. We are, getting down to the end here, and some of this will be a little repetitive, but I am going to give some new information this week and answer a couple of new questions that came through from parents. Again, my weekly reminder that we are recording the video and that it will be posted on YouTube. So just want everyone to be aware of that. Topics we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share some information about graduation, come back to Chromebook distribution again, share some information about grade level town halls, a brief update on grading, talk about returning materials and retrieving personal items that students may have left at school. And I believe there were two previously submitted parent questions that I'm going to get to today. So before we talk about any of that, I do want to remind everyone, if you're the parent of a senior, their last day is Friday. That's just 2 short days from now. At this point, they should be really finishing up in their classes, working through the things that are there. So if you're looking at grades or if you're thinking about what's going on with them, it's important just to have that conversation with them. We will have the benefit of a little bit of time after Friday to really clear up any grades or take care of any issues that might be there. But my goal for every senior would be that when we're done on Friday, that really they can, stop worrying or thinking about any of the academic struggles or academic problems that they might have, and really enjoy the fact that they have finished their high school career. So again, seniors' last day, Friday, May 22nd. So that's 2 short days from now. So in terms of just sharing about graduation, there are going to be 2 really unique elements to this graduation ceremony. The first is the MCPS Common Ceremony, and that'll be common across all schools in MCPS. And that ceremony will have comments from the superintendent, comments from some Board of Education members. It will have one single keynote address for all graduates. The second part, and this is the part that we're a little more keenly interested in, at least on our side, is really the part that is going to be unique to BCC. We have been planning this for we've been planning it before we even were in the shutdown, but now that we know really what the strictures look like with this, we've been planning for about a week and a half, really looking at how we can fit into the framework that MCPS has provided us. But we are going to attempt as best we can to provide BCC graduation experience that's similar to what students would have had if we were at DAR Constitution Hall. So that will include addresses by student and staff members. That will include actually reading of the graduates' names aloud. We are going to do that over a presentation of their senior pictures. It will include music performed by the BCC Chamber Choir, by the orchestra, by the jazz ensemble, I believe is the other group that's performing. We have all of those things in the works. We're in the process of putting all of that together because we do have to create for that one seamless video package. So we're in the process of working on all of those. But again, with the goal of making sure that it's as close as we can give to what the students would have had, with the reminder that when all of the social distancing guidelines and we're allowed to gather in large crowds again, we will do an in-person celebration, but we do want to honor that the graduation now. Both of those ceremonies will be held the week of June 7th, which is about 3 weeks from now. Both the MCPS ceremony and the unique BCC ceremony will both be during that time. They'll be provided online and for different viewing things. We will provide more information about that as we get closer and as we know exactly how they'll look and how they'll be presented. One of the questions that comes up with that is really how we are going to get graduation materials to seniors. We will be distributing caps and gowns and other graduation materials such as the program for graduation, any medals or cords that we have for seniors, anything we have like that. We will be distributing all of those items during the week of June 1st to 5th. We're still working out the details of our plan because we have to get permission to have the groups of people available at school to help pass those materials out, and also to help collate all of that, all of those supplies for our 500 graduates. We'll share more information about that, but it will be distributed in the week before graduation happens. The only critical part of that people will be looking for that won't be distributed that week is the actual diploma itself. We can't distribute the diploma until it's actually been conferred during the graduation ceremony by the Board of Education. I'm sorry, Mr. Levine is telling me my slideshow is not showing. Is that? I apologize. So I'm looking. Ms. Black, could you see my slideshow? Okay. I apologize, everyone. I don't know. How about now, Mr. Levine? Thumbs up? Perfect. I apologize, everyone. That I apologize for that. It was showing on my screen perfectly, so I didn't know that. There is one last minute reminder that goes with that. We do have some students who had not ordered a cap and gown through Herf Jones, which is our distributor. We actually have, because you're joining today, if you didn't do that and you fall in that category, we do have until 11:59 tonight where those can be ordered. And if you go to the website that's listed there on the screen, or if you're on the phone, that is www.highschool.herfjones.com. You can order a cap and gown and have that delivered to your home. That would need to be delivered to your home at this point, and I think there's a small shipping fee associated with that. Because we wouldn't have time to get it to us at BCC and then get it to you prior to that. But that is still available for any senior or parent who wants to order that at this point. This is my weekly reminder about Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots. So we are continuing to distribute Wi-Fi hotspots and Chromebooks at BCC every Tuesday from 9 to 3. We have a good supply there, so we can support you if you walk up. But we do appreciate it when we know that you're coming in advance, just so that we make sure we don't have a run on our items and that we are able to meet everyone's needs in terms of that. The other thing that's important is just to know that technical support hotline for parents and students is still open. The number for that is 240-740-7022. And if you call, you actually leave a message on that hotline, and then someone calls you back either in English or Spanish based on your preference to answer the question for you or try to help you troubleshoot with that. So one of the things that we have coming up in next week after Memorial Day, after seniors have cleared and we know where they stand with that, is we're actually going to host some grade level town hall meetings. Normally at this point in the school year, if we were in the building, we would be starting to talk about with freshmen and sophomores and juniors exactly the kinds of things they should be looking at over the summer, what they should be doing, what kinds of activities they should be engaged in. So we're going to share a lot of that information starting next week. We have 3 different meetings, one for each grade level, and I'll share the dates and times of those on the next slide. But we're going to really share some specific information with each grade level, and those are going to be led by the grade level administrators that will work with your students next year again. I do want to share that we are designing those for students primarily. That doesn't mean that parents are excluded from it, but we do have a capacity issue, if you will, in terms of the room size in Zoom. So we do ask that if parents want to join in, that they listen in or view with their child, because we're limited to 500 students, which for our freshman class at least really puts us at the upper limits. We're actually a little over 600 students. We just, based on other meetings, have determined that not everyone will attend. So we're gonna try it at the 500 limit and hope we can make it. So in terms of the dates for those, Wednesday, May 27th at 10 a.m. will be for juniors, sophomores on Thursday, May 28th, and freshmen on Friday, May 29th. Those invitations and that login information will be sent to each student's MCPS email account. So that's how they will receive that information for them. So your child should be looking for that if you want to make sure that they attend that. I apologize. So can do that. So an update on grading. At this point, we are in the process of closing out all of the incompletes from the third marking period. We're rolling through that. I do want to remind everyone that the fourth quarter will be graded as simply pass or incomplete. MCPS has shared some criteria for that. What it means to pass a class. That's available on the MCPS website. I can also share it with anyone who reaches out to me email. But it's important to know that what goes with that pass and incomplete, and this is the more, the tough part that's a little bit harder to understand, is that second semester transcript grades are actually going to be a combination of the letter grade that was received in the third quarter and the passing grade from the fourth marking period. So on the transcript, it will either be designated as a pass, or students can choose to have a letter grade for each class. And that's something they can choose. So if a student's enrolled in 7 classes, they can make that decision 7 times based on what's in their own best interest. Now, we have not been told yet how the grade book, how the system on our side is going to work for that, if it's going to default to one option or the other, and then students just have to indicate to us if they want to change that. We're still waiting for guidance on that. And as soon as we have that, we will know. But one of the conversations we'll be having with students as we get to that point is, let's talk about really what would make the most sense in terms of, benefiting a student on their transcript. So we'll make sure that we have those conversations with individual students, and the counseling department will be leading those conversations. Another question that we've gotten is really a twofold, 2 parts here. It's one is about returning materials to school, students who have textbooks that they've checked out, or textbooks that they have, or library materials that they've checked out, or sports uniforms, or instruments from the music program, any of those things. And also some students who have personal items that they need to retrieve, whether they're in a PE locker or in a school locker, or they just have something that they left in a classroom. Those plans are still being developed for the whole school. We're working more specifically on our seniors at this moment because it's a little bit more of a time crunch. We are going to have to develop a plan that allows us to maintain social distancing and follow all the guidelines that we have in place, including not being able to allow people who are not staff members into the school building. So we're still working out all of the finer points of that plan. We will talk about that with people, and we'll have a structured system for that. It is important to know that even though June 15th is the last day of school, that these plans and this return of items and collection of items may take place well past June 15th. We may be looking at things like this that roll into the summer. Again, we'll be sharing as many details as we can about how we structure that plan as we get a little bit closer into that time. So 2 questions from parents that I want to talk about. So one, and I'm paraphrasing these, but it's so are students being prepared for the fall, and what will happen in skills-based courses? So one of the so those skills-based courses, most of the time when we think about that, are classes such as our world language classes or our math classes, where what we're learning one year is built exactly off of what was learned the previous year. So if we think about that in terms of an Algebra 2 class, what we learn in geometry is really important as we transition to Algebra 2. If we think about that in terms of a world language class, the information that we're learning in French 3 really has expectation that we learned a prerequisite set of information in French 2. So that conversation is being had. So there are 2 parts that are going on in terms of really thinking about how we're going to address that. The first is an acknowledgement on our part at BCC, on our teachers' part, on our students' part, on everyone's part, that there are going to be some gaps that we have. We are not going to be in a place in the fall where we might traditionally expect students to be. So we've started the process of looking at how we might be able to offer some skills gap kind of coursework over the summer for students to complete. We are talking with resource teachers about how we might build some of that work into the summer packets that we're providing students, some of that practice so that they're working with that. Also, MCPS has started those conversations, and the curriculum office has started those conversations where they're really talking about how they can go back and address some of those critical skills prior to new learning happening in the fall. So how they can spiral in and layer in curricular concepts and important skills so that if a student needs to learn how to needs to have a specific skill in order to move on to the next step, or needs to have a specific set of vocabulary, that they're really thinking about how that will fit into it, so that we're not holding students back in terms of having them repeat a whole semester of a course or anything like that, but really how we can make sure that we're moving them on, but filling in the gaps as we go. So that's a lot of talking just to say that we're aware that there are going to be some concerns, and that we know that we need to address them, and that we're actively looking at how we can address them, both through things that might be extra that we don't normally provide, and through just the general course of instruction in the fall. The next question is a little bit more challenging for me to answer. So the question is essentially what plans are being made for the fall in terms of online learning, how we're going to make sure that there's increased rigor and live instruction. And that is a little bit more challenging. The conversations that I've been involved in with people at central office and MCPS have all dealt with this idea that if, and that's still a big if we do not return to the school building in kind of our normal context in the fall, that we are going to need to really work to make sure that what students are receiving does keep them from falling farther behind. And that goes a little bit back to the previous question. So there are conversations about how we will make sure that the rigor is there, that the academic challenge is there, that students are having opportunities to interact in live instruction. I will go back to something that I've said several times if you've been on these meetings before, though. There will not be a situation where what we are able to deliver online will exactly mimic a full school day, where we would go 7:45 to 2:30 with students in 7 consecutive classes for 45 minutes each. It's just not something that logistically could happen. It's also not something, I'm going to speak for myself here. It's not something I believe would be a good idea. I don't know how many of you are now participating in these all-day meetings and things of this sort, but I can tell you that after several hours of sitting in the front of the computer screen, having conversations or participating in meetings, my brain needs a huge break. And I don't personally believe that from an instructional or educational point of view that 6 or 7 hours of straight instruction in this format would be the best thing. I do want to make sure that whatever we're providing in the fall, if we're in that model, is meeting our students' needs, but we have to meet our students' needs for everybody. So that's going to require some differentiation. It's going to require some planning. It is going to require professional development for our staff over the summer also. So that is still a work in progress. It's not something that's a set in stone, but I know that there are conversations about what we need to do, and MCPS is continuing to look at what that's going to be. The Maryland State Department of Education has provided a few guidelines on what things might look like, so you could look at that if you wanted to have an idea of what might be going on there. So that's the last question that I had there. I'm going to end how I've ended every time we've done these meetings. So I do want to make sure that everyone knows that if you have a question, the best line of contact is always to go to your child's teacher first, because they have the most direct knowledge. But if you have a question that reaches beyond them, or that you want some clarification on, you can always reach out to me via email, or you could reach out to your child's grade level administrator. So that would be Mr. Levine for 12th grade, Mr. Nelson for 11th grade, Ms. Sutton for 10th grade, or Dr. McGarrell for 9th grade. All of those email addresses are available on the BCC website, as well as links to information that we're providing or that MCPS is providing, links to the latest video updates that I've done, and all of that information. So thank you all for joining us today. We'll just as a final statement for any parents of seniors who are on the call, as we know more about graduation, I'll be sending specific messages. Either I or Mr. Levine will be sending specific messages to you all about graduation plans or cap and gown pickup or any of those items that are there if you're a senior. So thank you all for joining us.